Hello and welcome to this week's IG Live. Today we are going to be talking to a good friend of mine and a really amazing musician and really just an amazing person is Daria. And she's an internationally known folk singer. Hi. And she is also someone who is known for doing music to educate children, help build empathy, help create inclusive spaces for kids. And since we are starting back to school season, it's the beginning of August, it seemed like a great time to talk about it. And hello, she has a new song just releasing today, which we
Hi.
have some exciting news for anybody watching. And we'll tell you all about how you can get a free copy for yourself. But welcome.
Oh, it's nice to be here, Leanna. We
Yes.
don't see each other nearly enough, and there's just so many great people out there looking for wonderful posts. And Make a Way is such a great way to get
Thank
connected to
Thank you
other
for that, and
like-minded
thank you for
souls.
taking the time to be on here. I just love following along everything that you're doing and all the difference you're making for kids. And like I said, you were so generous to make a free copy for everybody of your new song, which we'll get to in a little bit. But maybe we can back up for those that don't know you, and you can just introduce yourself and tell us about what you do.
Oh, wonderful. My name is Daria, and I go by Daria not because I think I'm a star, but because my name is very, very long. My full name is Daria Marmaluk-Hajioannou. And, we're going to talk about books and multiculturalism. And now there are so many books that talk about how your name is important. How saying your name. I mean, there are just so many. I'm sure we have a list of it. But there's a
Mm.
one called Your Name is a Song, because people with different names, people with long names, people with names that come from different backgrounds, sometimes we get shortchanged, or it just feels like, well, you're not important enough for people to learn your name or how to say it. And I think I've told you this story before. My husband is Greek, from Greece, and he had a brother whose name was Pandali. And he had his second grade teacher said, "That's too hard for me. I'm calling you Frank."
Wow.
And so he lost it, but this was going back in time. But basically, kind of, if you didn't fit in, we're going to change your name, or we're not going to use your name. Or in that book, Your Name is a Song, the teacher kept mispronouncing her name, and it just didn't feel good. And the end of that beautiful book was that her mom told her that her name was a song and that she could sing it. And when she sang it to her teacher got it. And then all the other students put up their hands like,
Mm.
"Is my name a song?" And it was a wonderful way of sharing her heritage, what her name meant, but letting everyone know that they are special too. And that is just the way to start a school year, to start a new friendship, to start with everyone's kind of their sense of identity is so valuable, and getting it right.
And I
You
love,
got to start
I
from
mean,
that
that's such a,
point.
like you said, there are so many more books now coming out about on this topic. But Your Name is a Song is such a great tie-in to what you do because of how they use music. And it seems like music is such a great way to really make connections with people when there seems to be a barrier. It's a way to that you can kind of overcome that, which is, tell us about why music is so important to you, especially sharing music with children.
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't agree more, because sometimes if you just try to have a discussion, that all seems very, kind of dry and academic. And how does that relate to me? But if we're singing together, if we're drumming together, if we're eating food together, if we're dancing together, then all of a sudden, kind of the differences seem to either
Mm.
disappear or move very far away. And that is just such a beautiful experience in a world now where people really want to seem to draw sharp divides. And there's the us and the them, and there really aren't an us and a them. There really are just us. And I think our role as parents and community leaders is finding those ways to let everyone know that they're part of this wonderful integrated whole, and that our job on a day-to-day basis is to make those connections, to make them meaningful and valuable. And it's not just about respecting, about others respecting us. It's about creating that community in which respect is the first thing we think of, and not the last.
And you have such an important role in this because you provide these resources for teachers or really anybody. You know, I'm a homeschooler and I've used your resources at home with my kids, and so you make things so easy because you have all these wonderful crafts, you have activities, you can do beautiful music. What kind of reactions do you get from the kids that you work with?
Oh, they when you involve the kids and when you show them things, I think it's so natural. You know, there's that wonderful little sign that says no child is born a racist, is that children have that natural curiosity. I think there's two ways to approach differences. It's either that you're different,
Mm.
ew, or you're different, huh? And again, our job is to turn that sense of you're different. What can I learn from you? That you're different. I bet your food is wonderful. You're different. What's that holiday about? Can I do it too? Can I experience this or that? And that's usually just that wonderful bridge to finding out that although someone may look different, their name may be different, their music may be different, that they really aren't, we aren't different at the core. And that starts that any difficult discussion is made better by starting from that point of respect and that point of there is something wonderful in things that are different. How boring would the world be? How boring would the world be if there were only one type of food to eat? And that's something I taught her. How boring would it be is if our class looked the same every day from first grade to till you graduate? And all the kids go, oh, that would be awful. Well, the world is like that. The fact that we wear different clothes, speak different languages, these are the spices and these are the celebrations that keep us learning and growing and you know turning into new beautiful people as opposed to kind of stuck
What a
being
great
stuck
way
in
to
a
teach
rut.
kids about that, and so they
Kids,
seem to just uh, kind of get that naturally, right?
oh, absolutely. And a lot of my lessons are and songs are interactive with games and movement. And again, when you're moving and you're dancing, or you suddenly a dance is a competition or something, kids just get excited, and the differences fall away, and the fun is what's at the center, the joy, and you know those wonderful memories. I think they really can serve us as we grow up in a world that doesn't always affirm, you know, that everyone is equal or everyone deserves a chance. Some of us really do have to grow up and be, you know, activists and fighters, and we have to stand up for ourselves in many different ways. So if we start our children's lives with that idea that we really are all one, and there are ways we can feel that, there are ways we can change the status quo to a better one, it makes those struggles more, you can see the you can see that an end result exists. It makes things more worthwhile and
Right.
not so
Right, and it
overwhelming.
seems like that makes that kind of emotional connection that I think, as you say, like when you have those kinds of experiences as a child, it makes such a difference to your outlook when you're an adult. If you have that kind of emotional connection to music from another culture or food or it's something like that, then it makes it harder to feel so apart when you're older. And I have to say another thing that I really love about what you do is that you make music so accessible, especially you're talking about world music, and so sometimes people might think that's so different, I can't do that, that's weird or whatever, especially thinking like a kid if they see some instrument or something. But you have all these crafts that you have that I've done with my kids, and I know a lot of people use in their classrooms, that where people can, it kind of makes it very accessible. Or I know you have sometimes when you take folk instruments and tell people how that's made with things around the house, things they can do. Why is that so important to have kids, to make it, I don't know what the word is, like to democratize music, to make it so accessible so it's not something that you just go and see on a stage somewhere?
Oh, I love that, democratizing instruments and music. Yes, because also if you think of it, if we were to just wind back time to the time when we lived in a simpler time. Maybe we were farming, or maybe we were in a small community. Music would be made with a lot of the things around us, and that is part of like the natural human growth and development, is being able to take tools, take things we use that are around us, and turn them into our natural music making abilities. So whether it's playing a washboard like in the Zydeco tradition, playing spoons like they do in Ukraine and here, we take things that are just there, accessible, that every person can grab, and turn them into, I mean, not only the learning, motor skills, but we can start expressing, we can start learning. Mom sang a song, I'm going to get my spoons and sing that song too. It just, there are so many ways that kids can learn to be expressing themselves in a positive and creative way, as opposed to simply looking at a screen, as opposed to kind of being a passive observer to life. So that's why I think that music crafts and activities are so great, because we learn that life is not something that happens on a screen. It's something that's happening to you, and you get to be that wonderful part of it that gets to interact with those other wonderful parts. It kind of wakes up the senses. And if you don't mind, I'd love to tell you a story. Is that somebody taught me when I was a teenager, I would go to a folk song meeting, and there was an older woman I admired greatly, but she played the spoons. And I asked her, and she taught me the spoons. Well, I was thrilled because I could teach others. Years later, I met an older folk singer I admired. I taught her the spoons. And after she passed away, her children contacted me saying, you know, Estelle played the spoons all the time, and she always said,
Oh,
Daria taught me that. So we never know how these little things that we think are almost inconsequential, you know, of teaching the next person, whether it's a rhythm or a drum or storytelling, you know, a wonderful story, you know, even a story from your faith that's so important. If you teach it to your children may be out there talking to someone else, say, you know, I know a story about that. And it's a wonderful way that they can learn, you know, to be that wonderful participant in life, and not just a passive observer. And they can feel their value
I
and
love
their
this
worth.
connection between, on the one hand, empowering children. They're learning to express themselves. They're learning to see themselves as a leader and someone who can make a difference to somebody else, and also creating community. You know, that connection between the two of them, which leads us directly into what we had talked about earlier about creating these inclusive spaces, whether it's at a classroom or a library or a community center. You know, these inclusive spaces for kids, because you're talking about empowering kids to be the ones who are inclusive, who make friends, who are respectful to others, and also creating a whole community around them that's supporting them. So what is the role? I mean, you kind of touched on this before, but maybe you could elaborate a little about the role that music can play. Like if you have, say, a teacher or librarian, they want to create a really inclusive space, how can music help them to do that?
Well, it's wonderful because we can use language. You know, for instance, if you I hear this all the time from teachers, we have kids from Ukraine, and then if you are able to bring in a bilingual song from Ukraine, suddenly they're not the outsider. Suddenly they're the instant expert, and suddenly when kids are enjoying it, they look and they go, they're enjoying my language. They're not looking at me as like, oh, gee, her English isn't perfect. And it's, you know, bilingualism is so wonderful, and the teacher doesn't even have to be bilingual. You know, you can look up some of my videos, some of other videos, and they'll have English plus Spanish, English plus Arabic. And it's just such a wonderful way, even if that's not your first language, you can begin learning from it. And again, music is just one of those wonderful ways that isn't dry. It's fun. You know, everyone has a voice. If a child doesn't want to sing, or if they're nonverbal, they can pat, they can tap. You know, there are so many ways that we can use music as the kind of fun glue that brings us into these teaching experiences. Isn't that what teaching is about? Is kind of whetting a child's curiosity
Mm.
for something that they don't
Which
already
leads
know.
us right into your new song, which just released today, which is all about creating inclusive spaces for back to school. All are welcome here. Tell us about it and what was the inspiration behind it?
Oh, there is a wonderful book, and I believe there's also another book with the same title, All Are Welcome Here. And that is because teachers really wanted, oh, also it's being banned. So you know it's
Right.
good if the book is being banned. It's the All Are Welcome Here that I know is there's a beautiful teacher, a guy teacher, and I think we don't see enough men teachers, and the lead character is an African American teacher and his students. And as the students come in, you see how he kind of adjusts the school year to talking about all of them, where they come from, if they have an accent, what languages they might speak, how he has an international fair so their families can come and be a part of it. And I just love that would be my ideal teacher, a teacher that didn't just teach, but really that didn't teach the ABCs and 1, 2, 3s, but was really teaching the how to be's. You know, we can learn ABCs and 1, 2, 3s anywhere, but the how to be, you know, how to be loved and included and love and include, that's just hard to make up if you don't get it early. And teachers are just such an amazing um, conduit for helping kids, you know, helping kids
Yeah,
have that wonderful
that
experience.
foundational experience that they'll carry with them for the rest of their life. So I love that you made the song available. And as I mentioned at the beginning, it's something that's available for free for the next week, right?
Yes, absolutely. So we can post the link below. It's on Teachers Pay Teachers, and you can just, you know, I think you have to sign in, which is also free, and just click and you'll download an MP3. You can play it anywhere. In about a week, I'll have a video on YouTube, and we can maybe both post that, because I hear from a lot of people in other countries that, you know, that their best way to hear music is via YouTube.
Yeah,
So
YouTube
we're
is
going to
really
go with
easy for new
that.
teachers watching. I mean, that's something that you can. I was actually just at an event yesterday, and they were talking about using YouTube videos or YouTube uh, either of music or of short movies as a way to connect with a group of kids that there was a language barrier. They would put on YouTube some music for them at the beginning to kind of bring everybody together. So we will definitely share that when it's up, and we will post the link to where you can get the free MP3 in our notes. And I know links in Instagram are not always great, so we'll make sure to put it in the stories as well. Or if you're watching on YouTube, you can look at the notes. But and I got to hear it. Thank you for letting me have a preview. It's a wonderful song. It's just very joyful and it talks about all the things that we were just talking about. It's so welcoming to children. Maybe you can give people, because you mentioned like your Teachers Pay Teachers and your YouTube, how can people, if they want to get more of this, because I want to make sure people understand all of the things that you have to offer. I remembered as I was walking in here that I have a book of yours, which I couldn't put my hands on at the last minute, but you have a wonderful book out. You have so many videos. So maybe you can just tell people everything, how they can access all of your resources.
Oh, wonderful. If you follow me on Instagram, I have a link tree, and it has literally Spotify, Apple, YouTube, all kinds of things. And, you know, whenever I do a freebie or something new, you'll see it there, and then the links on Linktree. So yeah, the Instagram is just such a great place to meet, like, as I said, like-minded people that are really, you know, interested in building a better future, you know. And that is just so I think it's something we need these days, to know that there are moms out here like you, Leanna, and that there are just so many people trying to not just trying but doing, really creating a beautiful space. And that to me is encouraging when the news is dark, or when there's, you know, which, and there's a lot of it. It's my prayer that all that is really coming to a head to disappear. You know, I think sometimes you have to get sick before you get well. or things appear to get sick before they get well. I'm truly hoping that is what is happening in our country and the world, that what we're seeing is not the end result that we want, that human beings want. We can dream a better future, and it's good to be reminded
Yes,
that we're
and
not alone
I,
in
I'm
doing
glad you
that.
mentioned that because I think a lot of times we hear all this negative about social media, and of course there are definite drawbacks to it. But something I've gotten out of it is, like you say, you realize that you're not alone. That what you're trying, sometimes it can feel like you are when you're just watching the news, but then you get on social media. It's a great way to connect with other people who are really trying to have this similar vision and are trying to do it, and to connect with such great resources like yours. Like you said, the Instagram is a great way to access everything that you have to offer. I mean, I have several of your albums, and I know you do a lot of collaborations with artists from around the world, all very so creative and on almost any topic you can imagine. A lot of different holidays, you folk songs from around the world, or different topics like peace, and of course, like we've been talking about, diversity and inclusion. So really great way to start off this school year and set the tone for your classroom or for your homeschool or library, whatever setting you happen to be working in. So thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us. Anybody who's joining late, we're going to have this up on Instagram. And like I said, I'll include that link to the free download. And we'll also have it up on our YouTube channel. And we will share your video when it comes out. That's so exciting.
Oh, I'm so happy.
Oh,
Would you mind if I read some of the
great.
lyrics? I just would like to. It's we're better together, together we're better. All are welcome here. We all belong like notes to a song, and all are welcome here. In our class, you have the space to be just who you are. No need to pretend, because we are the friends that love you just the way that you are. And the things that make you different are the things that make you you. So just keep being who you are. That's all you gotta do. And we're better together. That's the message. And I think, boy, is there a better way to start a homeschooling year or a back to school time is
I
than
love
telling each
that. What a
child they
great way to
count.
set the tone for the year. So thank you for joining us. Thanks everybody who's watching, and I hope you all have a great back to school season and year ahead.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for visiting and listening. And please follow Make a Wave
Oh, and
Media
please
with their
follow
wonderful
Daria, who
resources.
has so many wonderful resources. This is like Mutual Admiration Club. Thank you.
I'm
Bye.
fine with that. That sounds great. Have a great
Yeah, same
end of
to
summer,
you.
back
Bye,
to school.
everybody.